Hi, and welcome to the Knit Sibs podcast, a podcast by three yarn-obsessed sisters. I'm Valerie.
And I'm Julie. And we are missing Gloria today. She's traveling. She's going up to see our mom. So today we're going to have some, let me bring up my show notes here, some on our needles, off our needles, in our dreams, and outlier crafts. And maybe more stuff if Val has anything extra she wants to talk about. So let's start with off our needles. Have you finished anything the last 2 weeks?
Not a single thing. Nope.
Really?
Nope, nothing.
Even with all that vacation time?
No, so it was obscenely hot and humid the entire time, and I did not want to touch wool at all. So the entire time we were on the boat, so I recorded the day that we were leaving on vacation. This is now Thursday. I got back Monday night. I have not touched my knitting.
Aw,
I did a little bit actually before work today. I did a little bit of knitting, so I'll show you what I did. But the entire time I was on the boat, I didn't touch it. It was hot, it was humid. I didn't want to have anything to do with it.
That sucks.
How about you? You finished anything?
I did. I finished a few things. So I have first up my that blew it out. My shorty socks.
And do they fit better?
It's too flippin' hot to try on. I mean, they fit better. They fit better like putting them on, yes. So my issue was that this section here on the shorty socks I've done before has been too short. And so with this small fish lips kiss heel that isn't nearly as tall as some of the other heels, like this would all just fall into my sneaker and I wouldn't have the sock staying up. So I tried them on and they fit better and they are going up higher on my ankle. I just haven't worn them with sneakers because it's just been hot here in New England.
Doesn't the fish lips kiss pattern give you an option to make a deeper heel? I thought there were like some options.
There might be, but I honestly haven't even looked at the pattern in years. Like it's just one of those ones I just have memorized and this is just how it fits me well. So I think this will solve the problem. I just have to try it out. So that's my first finish.
Was that hand spun?
No, this is Regia Floramania. It was like this neonish colored yarns that they came out with at one point. Nice. And then my second project is hand spun, and that's my Musselburgh hat.
Ooh.
So you
have not only spun Tour de Fleece, but you've knit Tour de Fleece yarn already.
I know. I feel like really accomplished right now. Like I've actually set out to do something and I did it. But this is the hat, and it fits me well. I was considering giving it away, but I think I'm going to keep it now because it does fit well.
Flip it inside out. I'm going to see what the colors look like the other way.
It's kind of looks pretty similar. So there's the color change in the top here, and then it goes to purple and then pink, and then the pink goes on for a while. So it goes all the way around to the other side of the brim, and then the same color change. This is actually where I started. So I had a lot of blue. And then when I hit the end on the other side, because it's knit like a big hot dog, I still have a ton of yarn left after this that's blue, and it's going to be blue for a while, and then I have another quick color change. So I may even have enough to do like a pair of fingerless mitts or something to go with the hat.
Nice.
Which would be nice. But I mean, when I finished it, I just decided to wear it this way because you can see more of the color here. Otherwise the other one was all blue. And then it just would have, like, most of the color would have been hidden under the brim. So it would have been all pink.
Or you could wear it as a slouchy hat.
Yeah, I don't do slouchy hats. I don't think they look good on me. They just, like, if I were to unfold the brim and do the slouchy mitt, like, it's just not a particularly good look for me.
I like it better than folded. I like it slouchy.
Really?
Yeah, and you get a lot more color.
Yeah, you get a lot. Well, it's a lot of pink here, but you do get a lot more color, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, it's a really warm feeling just trying it on. Like, it's a thick substantial hat. So I'm probably going to wear it folded up because then I get extra ear coverage because it gets cold here in Connecticut. So
I think the one that I made for George, for my husband, so I did make two. I remembered which yarn I used for
Yeah.
George's. It was yarn that we had dyed.
Oh,
So the
that's
one that I
right.
made for my son, he goes to college in upstate New York, so I wanted it to be really cozy. So his does have the fold up brim if he wants to, you know, have that quadruple layer on his ears.
Yeah.
But my husband would be way too hot in that. So I'm pretty sure I made his shorter so it doesn't have the fold up brim.
I seem to remember that as well. So I can see myself making a lot of these hats because
Yeah, they're nice and easy.
they're easy, they fit well, they're really they're like it feels like you have a lot of options on how you want to wear it, you know,
Yeah.
depending on how much you fold up the brim, depending on if you fold up the brim, which color you want, you know. I think it's a nice customizable pattern. So I think I'm going to be making a lot of them. And then I have one more finished object. So this is a pair of socks, obviously. Does mom watch the podcast?
I don't only when I put it on for her. I
Okay,
think.
don't put this one on for her. These
Okay.
are going to be for her Christmas gift. So
Oh, she's gonna love them.
I hope so. They're a little bit crazier than I would normally make for her. I would normally do a more like solid color, but last time I was there wearing hand knit socks, she commented on how she liked, because I do almost all of mine with the contrasting heels and toes and cuffs. So she commented on how cool that was. So I thought I'd make her a pair. So this is the Crunkled Socks by Kay Jones, is the pattern. And then the yarn is Homespun House. And the yellow here is called Butter Mellow. And the contrast is Mermaid of the Black Lake. They're both Harry Potter colorways of hers. So I'm kind of sad to give it away because Butter Mellow was one of my favorite of her Harry Potter colorways, but mom will enjoy them.
It makes me think kind of a beehive.
Yeah.
And we know she likes that that honey show.
Yeah.
The bees are.
The bees are. It's her favorite show lately.
And they don't have enough episodes. I think they only did like a 5-episode season and that was it. I hope they bring it back.
I hope so too, because she really enjoys it. I enjoy it too when I'm up there. I watch it with her because I don't get it down here on my TV. But I like it a lot too. So that's all my finished objects.
So before we move on to the next segment, I just want to make a comment about my background. So I'm in my son's room again. He's away at college, but he moved into his first off-campus apartment, and he told me he does not plan on moving back home, and that I could turn his bedroom into a craft room. So we'll see if it ever actually happens, because my husband thinks that I should get one kid's room and he should get the other, and I could have one as like a craft room / yoga studio and he can have the other as an office. I think we should have one as a craft room / office and the other as a yoga studio / guest bedroom.
As long as you get your daughter's room for your craft room, because that's the big one.
Yeah, but that's why I was going to use that as my yoga studio. I already have all my yoga stuff in there, and my weights and all of that stuff is all.
Yeah, but you could set up like a permanent space for a sewing machine if you had that room. And I mean,
I want one of those cabinets. Have you seen those big cabinets that like everything just folds in? I want to get one of those.
I would never have it clean enough.
I would never fold it up. It
Yeah.
would just be open all the time. But he has a lofted bed that's just like a twin size bed. Hi, child.
You're on the podcast, bud.
And she has a full size bed. So I want to keep a full size bed for when people come and visit.
Gotcha.
Ideally, I would want to keep 2 beds, you know, a bed in each room, and somehow change things around. I mean, we've already kind of started using his room as an office. We've moved the printer in here. I have my computer in here. He has a chess table that takes up a lot of space that I'm trying to convince him to bring up to his apartment. He thinks he doesn't have enough space in it, but he's got a pretty big apartment. So we'll see.
That's very exciting.
This may be the last podcast with the Doom poster and the skeleton with the tie on it. So We'll see.
Oh boy, that'll be nice though. I have to say I'm looking forward to that in my life at one point, to have a full craft room and everything. So
Yeah.
that'll be really nice.
We'll see. We'll see what actually happens. I mean, I have all my blocking stuff in here already.
Yeah.
I've been using this as my blocking room.
Wouldn't it be nice to
Neither
have
my
like,
summer.
wouldn't it be nice to have like yarn and fiber storage too? Instead of like shoved under beds and in random trunks and stuff like that.
Yeah. I have plastic bins in the basement. I was just going through them before we started recording.
Yeah.
The bins in the basement looking for something, and I didn't find what I wanted to show. So
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything for On Your Needles today?
I have one thing I wanted to talk about. So this, I think, will be the third time I'm showing these socks. These I'm making little shorty socks. I wish you could see the color, because it's really so pretty. This is the Wicked Knitter. I think it's Not So Starry Night, and it was a sock set. But I'm doing for the very first time an afterthought heel.
Wow.
And I cut the yarn and I knit the first 2 rounds. It was
So
scary.
did you, when you did it, you didn't put in waste yarn or whatever, you just marked where you wanted to cut?
Yeah, so you put in the markers where you want to cut on the right legs of the first and last stitch. I think my husband just got home, so my dog is barking her head off.
I can't hear it, so don't worry.
Okay, so you mark the first and last stitch, and then you go in and you pick the stitches up, and then you turn it and you pick up, like, not the next row, but the row below. And then she has you cut the middle stitch and then pick it open.
Okay.
But she has you leave the last stitch on either side on the needles. And she said, if you do that, you leave the last stitch on either side, you don't pick it out. So you leave it as like knit stitches in between these live stitches. And she says, when you start knitting the heel, it'll make it so that you don't have gaps on the corners, which makes sense. So
we'll see. Everyone always says you're not going to have gaps, and I always have gaps. So
well, I'm hoping. So now I'm just knitting the heel, and then this should be a real, like a real quick process to put the heel in. And then all I have to do is put the heel in, and then I'll have a sock.
Yay.
I'm excited about that. And I have all of this yarn left.
Yeah, it's a lot of yarn.
And I just want to show this because it's adorable.
Did you weigh it? Do you think it'll be enough to do another pair?
I didn't weigh it, but I can. I think I have how many grams it was to start with. But yeah, I think I will definitely have another pair, especially if I make contrast heel and toe, or if I make them short.
Yeah.
So it started as 100 grams, so I'll weigh it. But look at these little snips that I have. Are these not the cutest little scissors you've ever seen in your life?
Those are very cute. Where'd you get them from?
Mom. Look at how cute they are. They have like the tiniest little snippy ends. And they're so sharp. It was perfect for this.
Nice.
And that's all I have on. That's all I've like touched since last time I recorded.
Yeah.
How about you? What's on your needles?
Well, I have, because as soon as I finished pair of socks, I cast on a new pair. So I have my next pair of socks, which is yellow and orange and pink and craziness.
Is that the sock blank you sent the picture of?
Yeah, so this is from a sock blank. A rather bright, crazy one. I love it.
It looks very different in the sock versus on the sock blank.
Yeah, it does. So this is Loft 22 is the dyer, and she's only done a couple updates with sock blanks. She normally just does regular skeins of sock yarn. Like this, I don't even think she gave them names. Yeah, this is just 7 is the name of it. So she had sock blanks like 1 through 12 or something like that in the update. But she's actually like on a dyeing hiatus right now. Yarn dyeing hiatus, because I don't remember if there was a reason for it or not, but she's just on a hiatus. So that's the beginning of the socks. So hopefully by next week I'll have at least, or in 2 weeks I'll have at least one done. Because they're my mindless project and I love socks, and sometimes I feel bad and think I should work on bigger projects. And then other times I'm just like, it makes me happy. I'm going to make more socks.
Yeah, so I'm finding these socks, usually I knit a ribbed sock. So these socks that I knit just plain straight tube. I really like the way the fabric looks when it's just knit. I think it really shows off how the yarn is dyed, especially the way that this yarn is dyed. You get like a stripe of pink, and then you get like 3 other colors, and then another stripe of pink. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. I think it really shows off how it was dyed. But I really enjoy knitting and wearing ribbed socks versus vanilla socks. So I have to decide what I want to do moving
I
forward.
can't stand knitting rib. Like the cuff part is the hardest part for me to get through because I can't stand the rib.
It took me forever to knit the body of the sock and then a second and a half to knit the cuff.
I'm the opposite. Very weird. But I guess I do like the way a ribbed sock fits. But no, not any more than I like the way a vanilla sock fits. So I don't really have, I guess, much of a preference. But I have another
socks as much as you do. You know, I wear them much more infrequently because I can't, like my dress shoes at work, I usually can't wear knit socks with. So I tend to wear just like the really thin dress socks.
That's a bonus of working at home.
Yeah,
I wear whatever I want, whenever I want. So
yeah,
most of the winter I am working in pajama bottoms and hand knit socks, and sometimes a nicer looking shirt if I need to be on a Zoom call, but usually not. So but I have another project I cast on this week. And I'm going the wrong way. I cast on a freer fade, which you can't really see it very well with it being black and white, but it is a faded, it's supposed to go in a fade. And this is an Andrea Mowry pattern. And it's kind of like the Find Your Fade. Same sort of concept in terms of the fading and whatnot, but smaller, so it didn't take up as much yarn. And I am using my other hand spun from Tour de Fleece. So my Ingle Nook. So these are the greens.
Oh.
So this is the Ingle Nook, not the Tour de Fleece colors. This was just a gradient braid set I had. So it was called Sing to Me Autumn. And it was, I think it's 12 ounces altogether with all the braids. So those are my greens, and then it fades to oranges. And then from the oranges, it goes to purples.
That's going to look great.
Are very brilliant out. Yeah, I started it a couple days ago, and then I just kind of put it on hold because I was second guessing myself a bit. So
what were you second guessing about?
So, okay, let me get it in here. So there's the beginning of it in the green. And so what I'm second guessing is, as I was reading the directions, which I haven't read all the way through because why do that? So your color changes are like 20 rows, which when this gets bigger is going to be quite a lot of yarn. So I was like, well, what if I'm, halfway through that 20 row repeat, like before I do a color change, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not going to have enough to do the next color change. So, but then I kind of thought maybe what I'm going to do is after each eyelet section. So the 20 row repeat is in between eyelet sections. So I think maybe after each eyelet section, I'll put a lifeline in. And that way, if I feel like I'm going to run out, I can pull back to that lifeline and reknit that section as a transition section instead of just a plain section. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work though, and potentially ripping out a lot of knitting.
Yeah, well, there's only so many color changes. And I think as I get going, I'll get a better idea. But I'd rather that and have to rip out like maybe 10 rows of knitting or whatever when I realize that I'm not going to make it, versus having to rip it out and not having the lifeline. Because I love the way this yarn turned out. I think I spun it pretty well. But it is a very rustic yarn. And
Mhm.
so, they can get a little sticky sometimes, and just ripping it out isn't always fun. And with the eyelet row, I don't want to have to rip that out and reknit it. So I don't know. I think I'll try it on the next repeat and see how annoying it. I don't think I've ever really done a lifeline. So I need to look into it. I know there's like a way you can put, because I have the
Yeah,
Joy Goo, what are these called?
interchangeable.
Interchangeable. And they have the little hole for the key to tighten
Yeah.
it. And I've heard you can put like dental floss through that and just kind of knit over it, and then your lifeline's in. So it's not much work, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, because then it's right where the cable is.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I'm gonna give it a try and see if that makes me
I think
feel more
I think it's a
confident.
good idea. I just don't think I personally would rip out my knitting. I would just figure something else out with the colors.
Yeah, and that's another thing I might wind up doing. I mean, there's no reason that it has to happen in between the eyelets. Like, I can do a color
Yeah.
change whenever I want to do a color change. But still, a 20 row color change when it starts getting bigger is going to need a lot of yarn just to get through the color change. So, I mean, because it's written, I think the pattern has 3 colors it fades between. So I'm going to be doing 2, 4, 6, 8 colors. So it's a lot more fading.
Mhm.
I'm a little worried towards the end. I'm going to like fade into one color and then immediately have to fade out of it again without much of just plain knitting in that color, which is fine, I guess. I mean, whatever. It'll be what it is.
It'll look good. I think the yarn is great. And I think that's really
Thanks.
the pattern for it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I definitely wanted to do a gradient and show off the color. So I thought this would be a good fit.
Yeah.
So that's it for on my needles. I have other things on my needles, but I haven't been really working on them. So that's it.
All right. Do we want to do in your dreams or outlier crafts?
In your dreams.
Okay. Do you want to start or you want me to?
You can start. I think I know what your in my dreams are.
I think we have the same in our dreams because I texted you about it. So you just showed an Andrea Mowry pattern.
Uh-huh.
And I have spoken many times about my desire to spin and knit a shift or a night shift. So the shift is the cowl and it requires 3 different colors. And the night shift is the shawl and it requires 5 colors. And from my understanding, the cowl, like you only need maybe 50 grams or 25 grams. Like it's a very small amount of yarn for each color. So you don't need much, but I'm going to spin a whole skein. I'm going to spin, I'm going to spin my 4 ounces. So I have bought many, many, many different combinations of fibers to try to spin for it. I'll spin, it's not the right weight, or I don't like how it looks or whatever. So out of everything that I've purchased so far, these are the only 2 that I actually have that I wanted to use either for a shift or night shift. So I have like 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 5 colors.
Yep.
A couple of days ago, I get a newsletter from Three Waters Farm, and they're going to do a shifty spin along. So Three Waters Farm, she's the one who did the yarn that you did the muscle cat out of. She's that fiber dyer. So she does beautiful, like space dyed fiber. So you get nice chunks of color. So then when you spin it, if you spin it as a fractal, if you chain ply, like you could get these transitions in color that look really good in the shift and in the night shift. It's kind of a mosaic knitting, so you need contrast, but it looks really good when each color also has variation in it. So I've seen it with solids and then 2 variegated. I've seen it with 3 variegated. I've seen a lot of different variations, but you have to have contrast in the colors, otherwise it's not going to work. So that's why out of everything that I bought, I have 2 spun so far. But she's going to do fiber bundles. So I feel like I need to scrap everything that I've already planned for it and just get a fiber bundle and make my life easier, because then I'll have colors that I know go together. I do have a nice stash of Three Water Farm in the basement, so that's what I was looking for before we started recording.
Uh-huh.
But I've seen 2 gravitate towards fall colors in her fiber. So most of mine are like browns and grays with oranges and reds and deep greens, and there's no contrast. So if I put 3 of her colorways together that I currently own, they're all going to look the same and it's not going to work.
Yep.
So we'll see what she comes up with. So that's the only in my dreams that I was going to talk about today. 'Cause it's the one I've really been thinking about.
From what I understand, she's also going to be doing like how to pick colors for it and whatnot. But it like, so I saw, I wasn't signed up for her email somehow, but I am now. So I went and I looked on her Ravelry group, and she has the whole email in a thread in the Ravelry group. And the timeline seems really short to me.
There's absolutely no way I'm going to spin, let alone spin and knit. I think she was doing it in 2 months.
Yeah.
There's no way that I'm still knitting my attune. Like I
Yeah.
spun for the attune and that took me like 7 years. And I'm still knitting it now. So
Yeah.
there's no way I'm gonna spin and knit an entire shawl in 2 months.
Right.
It's
I
not happening.
think she said something about like September or August was going to be, prepping and spinning and starting your knitting, and then September was going to be like finishing the knitting. Well, if she doesn't even have fun fiber bundles up for me to buy, I'm not going to be spun. It's not going to be spun by the end of August.
Right. She's not releasing the fiber bundles until mid-August.
Right.
So you'll receive it at the end of August. You're going to start spinning the beginning of September.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But at least I'll feel like I'll have, I would like some guidance in how to spin it, because like I said, hers are space guides. So you'll get like a chunk of solid color. So what's the best way to spin that to really maximize it for a shift or a night shift?
Yeah. Yeah. If nothing
Take a
else,
practice.
it'll be nice to follow along on her threads in Ravelry and see what other people are doing for inspiration. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think having one solid works as well. And with the night shift with the shawl, you could probably do 2 solids and then 3 multicolored.
yeah.
And she does have some semi-solid colors. But I think you need a significant amount of contrast.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I've been planning to spin and knit for one of these for quite a while. So we'll see if I completely change gears and get all 3 Water Farms fibers, or if I continue to stash dive.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah,
work with-
I'm gonna hold off on committing to it until I see what her fiber bundles look like. Cause same thing, I have very similar colorways in my stash. It's very, I guess I'm pretty autumnal as well, with a few random pinks and purples thrown in there. But I also just like really bright, crazy colors in some of my stuff. And that is just, I think, a little bit too disorganized looking to be in the shawl like that. You want it to smoothly transition from one color to another, I think, instead of it just being splotches of randomness. So, or maybe like one skein like that, but you can't do all 5 as random swatches.
So sweet Georgia, have you seen her video on spinning for? Yeah, so she does some conversation about like how the colors work together. I have to go back and that again.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that as well, because that was a really well done video on how she chose her colors to spin for one as well. So,
and I think Three Water Farms, I think in her newsletter, so probably on the Ravelry thread as well, I think she links to some other people who also talk about how the colors lay out. So that was my mistake with the tune. I didn't understand how the colors worked. So if I understood, I would have flipped my main and my contrast color. So when I do night shift or shift, I really want to make sure I'm placing the colors where I actually want to.
Yeah.
Be a little more planful. But I also want to, Andrea Mallory's having a birthday sale right now. So I think it ends tomorrow. I have to get Find Your Fade because I do want to knit that at some point. I have to see if there's anything else I want to get that I don't already have.
I got a couple. I got Find Your Fade. I got the Weekender, because I hadn't bought the Weekender pattern yet.
I don't think I have that one either.
Yeah, and then I didn't get it, but I'm kind of thinking I might go back and get it. The Comfort Fade cardigan. I don't have that one either. But I don't know if I'm ever actually going to knit it, but
Mhm.
I don't know. And then I got a couple other shawl patterns from her as well. So yeah, I stocked up for sure. Yeah, I think it's like 39% off or something, which is a pretty
Yeah, I
good-
mean, you have to
good
buy
deal.
them.
Right, exactly. So I have in my dreams as well as obviously the same project as Val. But I'm also dreaming of a new loom lately.
Ooh.
Because my loom, I think I've talked about it before. I have a floor loom that I got off Craigslist, I think. And it's great and it works for the most part. It has some things that need to be fixed, and I've been fixing it as I go along. The current problem I'm having, I don't know how to fix yet, so I need to do a lot more research to figure out that part of it. But it's big. It folds up to maybe have a like 1 foot by 4 or 5 foot footprint on the ground. And it folds up against the wall, and then the dog's crate is next to it. So for me to take it out and work on it, like we have to rearrange furniture in that room.
Maybe I could put it in my craft room.
You probably could. But like I got it when I was first thinking of weaving, and I thought it would be a great deal. I got it for like $300 for this floor loom. But it's really just, it's too much to set up and deal with on a daily basis. It has to be like a big project I've thought out and planned and stuff like that. So I've been dreaming of getting a rigid heddle loom, which is like you can put it on a tabletop and work on it. But then I'm like, well, if I get a little one, is it going to be big enough because what I'm thinking of like useful things to make, because I do try and make useful things, was like, kitchen towels and stuff like that. So you have to have like a minimum width. Like you can't do it on like a 8-inch loom. You're not going to get a width for a towel. So as I'm like looking at them and pricing them out, it's getting a bit like it would be more expensive for this little rigid heddle loom than it was for my floor loom. So it's kind of out of budget, but I'm still dreaming about it because I really enjoy weaving. My son really enjoys weaving, so I'd like to make it a bit more accessible to us, and having it like there's even ones that fold in half so you can like stick them on a shelf or whatever. They sell bags, you can put them in a bag and stick it in the closet. So I've been dreaming about that, but we'll see if that
I hope
happens.
it happens.
Yeah, maybe one day. Okay, so let's move on to our next segment. Let's talk about our outlier crafts. So I'm sure we each have some of that because we're still in Tour de Fleece spinning mode. So
Yeah.
do you have anything you've spun lately?
Yes. So I figured I would do a little bit of a Tour de Fleece roundup and
Nice.
show some of what I've made. I think last time we recorded, I had only had one completed yarn, and last time I showed my spinning, so it was on the boat last time. So this is, and now I'm doing the little tie back bracelet.
Uh-huh.
I wish you guys could see this. So this is Four Rivers Yarn and Fiber, which is Wilhelmina.
Okay.
Have you ever spun any of her stuff?
No.
This is a merino silk blend. It's 4 ounces, and I got approximately 378 yards. So this is purples and greens, and it has like some bluish gray in it.
So that's like almost sock weight.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
This is very solidly like sport.
Uh-huh.
So
Very nice.
one. It's very silky. It's got like some sheen to it. It's really very nice.
Yeah.
So what did I say it was? Merino silk. So even though it's not super wash, I think the silk will give it some strength if I wanted to use it as a sock yarn. Or this probably could go into my night shift pile.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to, when I was planning for my original night shift, I was trying to do silk ones. That was like my theme in the fiber. So I got a ton of fibers that were silk blends. So this one you already saw last time. This is the one that I had completed. This is another silk blend. This is the you can't see that. at all. Julianne and I offline were just trying to figure out what's wrong with my camera. We don't know. But this is the lichenology. Greens, it's mostly greens with some, like tonal greens with a little bit of brown in there. So it's a silk merino flax blend. This I spun kind of bulky, but will not be going into the night shift. Or
And you spun it in like 2 hours.
Yeah, like 4 seconds. This is a very special spin. It did not work at all how I anticipated it. This is greenwood fibers, 50% yak, 50% silk in dragon fruit. And it's about 5 ounces and about 400 yards. So this was a set of mini braids. I think it was maybe 5 colors. And I split each braid in half. And when I split it in half, if it was a little uneven, I would put like the bigger one in the left and the smaller one in the right. And then I would split the next braid and I would put the bigger one in the right and the smaller one in the left. And I was thinking that maybe it would all even out in the end and I would wind up with even piles. So I didn't bother weighing the final piles. They were very uneven. So I wanted them to be a little uneven. I wanted the yarn to fade from one color to the next. And I wanted there to be like a little bit of overlap in the colors. That way they would be like a natural gradient instead of an abrupt change. So I wound up, green was one of the end colors, and then this like purple was one of the other end colors. So I wound up with a lot of green, solid green, and a lot of solid purple, because I had a ton of purple left over at the end. So then I did like an Andean bracelet, and I used that for the rest of the yarn. But then this like yellow in the middle is all combined with other colors. Like I don't get any real solid yellow. It's all combined. So I did not do a fabulous job with the splitting, but this is so silky. It is really, really very nice. It's definitely like a luxury. So this is yak silk.
Do you have plans for it?
This will be some kind of cowl because it needs to be like, I just might wear it like this. Like
there you
it's
go.
done.
That works.
I made a cowl. So
it actually kind of looks pretty like that.
It does. Kind of works. Let me fix my headband now. All right, so that was a tortoise spin. And I'm glad I got this spun up because this, like I said, it was kind of a luxury indulgent purchase. So I didn't want it just lingering for too long without getting anything done with it. This is my Three Water Farms just riding along. So last time I showed it, it was in my yarn bowl in little nests being prepped to spin, and I had just decided I was going to do a fractal with it. So that is my fractal spin. I definitely am in sock territory with this. So this is 440 yards, 4 ounces. So
definitely.
Yeah, and this is the sock, the nylon merino blend. So it's the sock blend. So this will be socks for sure.
So that's what I used for one of the plies in my Musselburgh hat.
Yeah, I didn't spin the blue yet, so I only have half of my tortoise Three Water Farms spun. But I am happy with it. I really do like fractal spins because sometimes you get the colors matching up. And sometimes you get it barber pulling, and I think it looks really interesting and it's really fun when it knits up. And depending on how the fiber is spun, sometimes you can get matching, like you could split it to do 2 matching skeins in a fractal spin. So I've really been having fun with color with this tortoise.
I think fractal spinning is probably my favorite method of spinning a braid.
I think it showed this when I was on the boat. This was also a tortoise spin. It's this tiny little braid. I spun this on my drop spindle when I
Mhm.
was visiting my parents. So there was no rhyme or reason to it. I was just grabbing chunks of fiber and spinning it. And this was Quillen Fiber Arts in the Dragonfly colorway, which apparently like picked up some like traction during Tour de Fleece. People were posting about this colorway, and she had posted that she was like dyeing a batch of it because it had, I guess, become popular either on her Facebook page or her Ravelry group or something like that.
But it wasn't a designated Tour de Fleece color.
No, and this is a silk blend that I got for my night shift. But this blend is, I believe it's silk bamboo. It is targi, silk, and bamboo.
Mm,
And I love spinning targi because it just floofs. Like when
Yeah.
you wash it, it just poofs up so much. And then with the silk and the bamboo, it drafts beautifully.
yeah.
So this was a really good fiber to use as like a learning how to spindle spin or practicing spindle spinning. So it just drafted beautifully, and I was able to spin very fine, which was my goal. And then this is my final Tour de Fleece spin. Because Tour de Fleece is technically over, but I am going to keep spinning. This is spun right round.
Mm.
This is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and I chain plied it and got about 240 yards. So this is, I'm going to put it at like a worsted.
Okay.
I think that's the best representation of the colors there.
Yeah.
So this fiber, when I got it, again, she didn't name the colors like your your sock yarn. She didn't
Yeah.
name, they were just numbers. So when I got the fiber, it was pretty vibrant. It had these like pretty saturated spots on the fiber. But then as I was prepping the fiber and spinning it, I realized that the saturated parts were really on the surface level, and then below it there was a lot of white. So it turned very pastel, and the single was very marled, and it wasn't at all what I was expecting. But I knew I was going to spin it as a chain ply because I wanted to preserve the colors. So I wasn't sure about the single, and then I chain plied it, and I'm happy again.
It
So
looks very pretty. I like it.
the magic of like the colors coming back together. And this blend did poof up also, which I liked. And I really love chain plying. I know that you don't like it. I cannot chain ply consistently. I feel like when you chain ply, for me, I'll have like some thinner patches and some thicker patches. And then when I chain ply a thicker patch next to a chain ply thinner patch, it just kind of amplifies the differences.
Yeah.
If you were doing a true 3-ply, the 3 plies would kind of even out. But when you're chain plying, you're kind of magnifying the inconsistencies. But again, when I knit it, I feel like it all shakes out. It's fine. It all looks
Yeah.
beautiful, no matter how terrible you spin the yarn. Knitting with chain ply is always, knitting with hand spun is always gorgeous.
I don't like that little bump you get in chain plying. I mean, I guess it really
Yeah.
only matters if it's like right next to skin tight thing,
Mhm.
like if it was socks, I wouldn't want to chain ply anything that was going to be socks because I think I'd feel that on the bottom of my feet.
I don't, I don't know. I don't think you would. I don't know.
I don't know.
All
All
right,
right,
so
so
that's all of my spinning and all of my outlier crafts because I haven't done any other crafting either.
okay. Well, I've done one spinning thing since Tour de Fleece. I had a lovely weekend last weekend where my children and my husband went away for 2 days and I had the house to myself and
Nice.
I did not have to cook for anyone or do anything for anyone except myself. So I decided to spin something because, why not? So I made this. This was from a bat from Hip Strings.
It looks
It was
beautiful.
what?
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. It was Exploding TARDIS. So I think she does I'm sorry, the TV is loud in the other room right now and it's really annoying and distracting me. But I think she does a specialty bat each month, and so this was the one for July. And Exploding TARDIS is a Doctor Who reference, and I'm a big Doctor Who fan. But it is a mix of, let me see here, merino wool, mulberry silk, tussa silk, sari silk, and nylon.
Nice.
So it's quite a lot of stuff. It is went from, you can pretty much see the gradient right there, dark blue to medium blue to light blue to yellows to almost like a whitish yellow. And I just love, like, I don't know if it'll come through. Hold on. There's like a lot of sparkle in the blue, and in the yellow, there's a lot of this white. I don't know if that's the sari silk or not, but it's just got it has a lot of texture to it without being like rough. You know, it was very fun to knit. I guess they have I guess they call it like a smooth bat, where it's got a lot of mix-ins, but nothing's like huge. You don't have to like draft out a huge clump of silk or a huge, like, you know, you don't have like piles of neps just sitting in the middle of the bat or something. So it was an amazingly made bat. I would get another one of hers in a heartbeat, because this was really just a joy to spin. I was considering what to make with it. So it is very soft. It could easily be next to skin. So I was thinking maybe a cowl. I was thinking a small shawl, but then I went into a deep dive into Ravelry patterns. And at first I was completely and totally against bandana cowls, but now I think this might have to be a bandana cowl, because you get that look of a full shawl in the front, and you get the coverage around the neck for the warmth, but you don't have those extra like wings that you need the extra yarn for. So, I mean, this is 266 yards. Like, I'm not going to get any decent size shawl out of this.
Yeah.
But I think I might be able to get a bandana cowl out of it. So we'll see. That's the plan right now. I need to keep researching some patterns, but
you'll find the right pattern for it.
Yeah, I will. It still needs a bath too, so it hasn't even floofed up yet. Which and this was, I forgot to say. So it was from a bat. I broke it into, I think, 9 pieces, just straight down, and then I used the diz and I dizzed it. I don't know if there's a verb for that. And then I spun it straight, like one strip after another, and then I chain plied it, which I hate doing, but I had to keep these colors together.
It was worth it.
Right. There was no other way for me to keep these colors together so nicely. So
I love the look of chain plied yarn. It makes such beautiful yarn.
Well, I like the look of 3-ply. If I could have figured out a way to do this evenly in 3-ply without wasting any fiber, I would have done it. But chain ply was the best I could do. So, but I love it. It's so pretty.
Nice.
So that's it for me. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
So I was just going to review the books that I read on vacation, since I showed my whole big pile of them.
Yep. How many did you get through?
4.5.
Nice.
Which I think was pretty good, right? For 10 days.
Yeah.
So first I finished Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. It was the saddest sad thing I've ever sadded.
Oh, really? That's not a good way to start off your vacation.
Incredibly sad. So I do one of my friends, one of my sailing friends, we do buddy reads, and we weren't able to do this trip together, but she had just read Four Winds. And I was like, the only reason I'm finishing it is for you, so we could discuss it. And then I was like, all right, I finished it. Give me your review. She's like, sad with the side of sad. And I was like, yeah, you made me finish it for that. I could have told you that in the first couple of 100 pages. It was very well written. The story was beautiful, but there was no like relief from the sadness. And it's about the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, and I could like taste the dust and mud in my mouth. Like everything was dirty. It was so then I needed something lighter, and I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. So this is about a woman who goes back to this like lake community cabin that she spent her summers in as a child because her friend's mother had passed away. So she goes back for the funeral and like reconnects with the boy that she was in love with. And we hear the story about like what happened between them. We know that they haven't been in contact for 12 years. Like it starts like that. We know that's not a surprise. I'm not spoiling anything. But we don't find out until the very end why.
Okay.
So there is a transgression that I will tell you is not forgivable, in my opinion. And then I read Emily Henry's Beach Read. So the reason I was able to do all of this reading was because it was sweltering hot and I would tie a tube to the back of our boat and sit in the tube and read. So this got quite wet. I don't know if you can see like the
yeah.
like the warping of it. So it would get wet. It would be like laying on me while I'm wet and getting splashed. Emily Henry's always adorable. This didn't disappoint. I started following, I think I sent you and Gloria, I started following this Instagram account that posts 1-star reads. And there was a 1-star Goodreads review for Beach Read. And it was like, I thought I was going to go to Florida with a pina colada and I wound up in Michigan drinking an IPA and they gave it 1 star for that. And I was like, no, I want to read that. Like, you want to read it even more.
Yeah.
So it was like typical Emily Henry. I enjoyed it. And then I read The Dead Romantics, and this is by Ashley Poston, and it's the Good Morning America GMA.
Was that in your book stuff when you showed us all your books?
Mm-hmm.
And I still went out and bought it?
Yes. Pay attention.
My bad.
So the premise of this actually wound up being a little bit different than what I thought it was. Like what I had heard about it or what I had interpreted about it was this woman can see ghosts. She goes back to her hometown, where her family owns a funeral home, and surprise, her editor is dead and she's seeing his ghost, and she's a ghostwriter and he wants her to ghostwrite something for him. That's not the premise. So I misunderstood that. She does go back to her hometown. She can see ghosts. She does see her dead editor, but he doesn't want her to ghostwrite his story. Like, I don't know where I got that from. This was enjoyable. It's not like none of this is like earth-shattering like literary reads, but they're perfect.
They're fun.
Yeah. So now I'm about a third of the way through it. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. After reading something sad and heavy, followed by 3 romances, it took me a little while to get back into like the pattern of the language for this. And when I first started it, I was like, oh, this is like a little fussy. But it's quirky and adorable. It's about these 2 friends. I'm not going to give you too much background about how they met, but they met under like kind of sad circumstances. They had a falling out. They both wind up in school in Boston, one of them at MIT, the other one at Harvard. And they reconnect to write a video game together. That's pretty much all I know at this point, even a third of the way in. But the characters are quirky and adorable, and it's, very much my style. I'm enjoying it. But the language, well, first of all, I don't know if you could see the words. The words are small and like really densely packed on the pages. Oh, I don't know why I'm like flipping to all these empty pages. Like, look at all these words, and then they're empty. So the words are very densely packed and small, as compared to like, that's, so it's going to take a while to get through it, and I think it's 400 pages. It's like just under 400 pages. So it's definitely like a more words per page, like a denser, heavier read than these, but also subject matter. You could see it's going to be heavier, but I'm really enjoying it. So I'm glad that I was able to at least get through some of my reading, even though I couldn't get through my crafting.
Yeah. Well,
I keep reading books, even though I have like literally a tower that's going to fall down and kill me one day. I just keep buying them. Yeah,
me too. I just went to the store the other day and bought like, what did I buy? 3 romance books. I needed light, and then a like special edition of a book that I've already read, but I had gotten it from the library, and so I wanted an actual copy to read in the house because it's A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I do reread the series like maybe like once a year or something, and it's like a lot. It's a lot of reading. They're like 500-600 page books, and I had the first one I had gotten from the library, and then I had gotten it on Kindle edition. But I just wanted like a actual copy of it, and the only hardcover they had was the special edition one. So I now have a
I
special
haven't read that yet.
It's good. It's good. So I went to Barnes and Noble to get it, and when I had first gotten the series, because after the first one I had bought the rest of them. When I had first bought them, they were in the young adult section, but they have now been moved to the adult section, adult fantasy.
They're spicy?
Yeah,
Or
they're very spicy. Like someone had told me that her daughter was reading them and she was like a junior in high school, and I was like, holy crap, like if I was a junior in high school reading that, I think I'd be a little scared of what relationships are going to be like. But yeah, so I got that and a couple other books, but right now I'm reading, this is what I'm on, is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. This is a book of the month pick for me for last month. I am about a little bit more than halfway done with it. And it is about genetic engineering and a person who becomes genetically engineered, and is he going to be like, what people are going to be like, and this whole ethical question of what to do in genetics, but in a fun novelty kind of way. Well, not fun,
not in a like makes you angry way, like when you read The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks and you
no, it's
get
not
all those ethical questions.
no, it's not. Well, that was more of a actual story. This is what could happen in the future. And it's good. I'm really enjoying it. But I'm was going to try and finish the second badge in Book of the Month Club. So Book of the Month Club is a subscription book club. You get to pick a book each month out of between 5 to 7 books or something like that you get to pick from. And then they have an app where you can keep track of what you've picked, and you can see what you've read, and you can rate what you've read, and as you rate them you satisfy these badges. And so when you satisfy these badges, what were they for this year?
There was debut. You had to be 3 debuts. There was a shelf pusher or something. It was like a 400-page book. I forget what that was called.
And then you had to read just 12 books and they have to be book of the month, and you have to have gotten them within the past 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
So I had finished all of them, and then you got like the second badge that opened up, and I'm not going to give it away in case anyone wants to be surprised. So then there was the second badge, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go for, I was considering going for the second badge, and then I found out there was no like prize for it. So I was like, whatever, I'm not going to rush to get through it. And then it turns out there is a prize for it. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get through it, but that meant reading more books. Give away what it is. But
I just gave away what it
was. I'll try and cut out what she just said when I edit. But it meant reading more, and I don't have a stash of Book of the Month books anymore. I have like only a couple left. And so I was like, maybe I won't go for it. Maybe I will now that there's a prize. But then someone leaked what the prize is, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go for it for that. Like, that's not a good enough prize for me to, because I would have to buy like 2 books every month. So
I bought 3 this month.
What?
I bought 3 this month.
I know, and I skipped this month because I'm trying to save money. So I'm not going to go out of my way and spend extra money just to fulfill the badge for a prize that I don't even really want.
So. Well, so Book of the Month, you pay, I think they just raised the price. I think it's $16 now for 1 month if you do it month to month, and I do the month to month. But then your add-ons are $9.99. And it's a hardcover book, and it's usually a new release. So I got the 2 of the books that I got were someone's book clubs this month, like GMA or Jenna or Reese or whoever. So the two that I got were book club books, and the only reason I got them was because they were book club books. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
run out to get them otherwise. But then the third book I got was an Ellen Hildebrand's. And I had given Mom an Ellen Hildebrand to read recently, and she really enjoyed it. So again, not something that I would necessarily get for myself, but I knew Mom would like it, so I ordered it. So I figure I'll read that real quick once it comes, and then I'll just give it to her. Because for
Yeah.
$9.99, because I've been picking up books here and there that I thought she'd be interested in. For $9.99 for hardcover, like,
Yeah.
might as well add it to my book, read it real quick.
Yeah. I mean, I figure, yeah, the price is great for what you're getting. I mean, you're getting a hardcover book for $16. You can't buy that in the store.
New release.
Yeah. New releases always. Yeah. But I have a huge bookcase full of books that need to be read. And so I'm like, do I really need to get any more? It's, my collection though. I like having my collection. I like having, because I really do. I'll have like a time like right now, all I want is silly rom-coms. That's all I want to read. And I actually ran out of them and had to go buy some. But like, it's nice to have a diverse collection of books for, there's times when I'm in the mood for the super sad book. And it's nice to know I've got like 6 I can pick from on my shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. I have quite a stash of books to pick from. And I have quite a stash of spinning fiber, and I have quite a stash of embroidery projects. And
embroidery projects, yeah, me too.
Yeah, my embroidery projects are a little out of control. And there's that one kit that I want to buy, but I keep waiting for like a sale or like free scissors or something.
Yeah.
Before I buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. George is back home again. He's been out collecting. We're having like a fundraiser party this weekend. He's been out collecting raffle prizes for them.
All right. Well, then let's sign off, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks, and hopefully Gloria will be back on with us. So until then, happy knitting.
Happy knitting.